Did one of the most popular, or I guess I should say, well-known people in crypto just say that Bitcoin is a meme coin? What? I don't even really know what to say about this. We're going to be talking a little bit about that today, going into that in a little bit more detail. But overall, we are just going to be talking about Bitcoin, the market, kind of where things are sitting at right now, and also talking about some of the frankly just wild things that are happening in the market recently. Obviously, there's been some pretty crazy stuff. I think if it's not already pretty obvious, the fear and the boredom and the impatience and all this type of stuff that we have been talking about for weeks now is definitely starting to kind of take root in the market, and some weird stuff is happening. So we're going to be looking through all that today. Moving in though, we'll start out with crypto bubbles. We can see actually a green day so far. I would say this is pretty green overall. Obviously things looking pretty good here. Barachain, Injective, Hyperliquid, XRP, TIA, Tau, Telcoin, IPSay, Sonic, and Pith, kind of the big ones, but we do have multiples here. Sui doing pretty well also. We talk about them on the channel. ICP up a little bit, not too much. Same with Jasmine and Bitcoin as well. So we can see Bitcoin up a tiny bit on the day, which is good. Still red on the week. We are starting to see some more green bubbles here and there. But again, a lot of what we're seeing here, in my mind, is looking to be a lot of kind of this PvP type stuff. There's not really a pump going on throughout the market. What we can see is, things here and there doing well. Sonic, which is formerly Phantom, this has done relatively well over the past week or so. Injective coming back a little bit. Barachain, this was an airdrop, so it's kind of done a little bit decently there. And then Telcoin and IP, these are kind of some smaller ones that have moved up pretty aggressively. Telcoin kind of being the biggest mover of all of them. But yeah, overall, the kind of market doing pretty well. Things look kind of just overall mixed, I would say. The market not really moving in one direction or the other. Things just kind of ranging generally. So now we'll get to the news of the day that I want to talk about, which is Brian Armstrong, which is the Coinbase CEO, saying even Bitcoin is somewhat of a meme coin. Wow. Yeah. Wow. A little bit interesting. This kind of came at a very interesting time when we're seeing a lot of governmental adoption, institutional adoption, a lot of this type of stuff. People are really, I think, starting to take Bitcoin somewhat seriously here. And so the fact that this was mentioned is a little bit interesting. I guess I kind of maybe understand the sentiment in a sense, just because Bitcoin was kind of built to be a little bit more of as the magical internet money, a lot of that type of stuff. It was built somewhat in jest of itself at the beginning, but I think we've kind of come a long way from that. So the fact that was said is a little bit crazy. I'm not really sure exactly what to make of it. I don't read too much into it, frankly, just because I'm not really sure exactly how that was intended. So, but overall, I do think kind of the crypto market overall, while it's starting to gain some legitimacy, it still is, it's kind of a meme coin casino a little bit still here. So, hopefully we are kind of moving away from that. I'm really, really hoping we're moving away from that. But again, who knows for sure? Time will tell. I do think as we start to see the market pump a little bit, it would not surprise me at all if meme coins came back and meme coins did really, really quite well, just because that's just kind of how people in the crypto space are. There's a lot of gamblers who hide under the guise of being an investor, which is not a bad thing at all. It's just, let's just call it what it is, right? And so that's kind of the way that I look at it. If we do look at Bitcoin price, we are kind of still up in this consolidationary zone. I actually did pull some trades here just so you guys could kind of follow along if you guys are interested. Of course, you should not be trading if you don't feel comfortable, but I did open a couple low leverage long plays on both Solana and Bitcoin just because I felt like things were a little bit overextended. If we look at Bitcoin specifically, and we'll zoom in on this here in a second, but if you look at Bitcoin, we're partially down in this wick. I did actually leave a long order open, kind of getting into this bottom zone. We didn't actually ever touch that because we'd already seen that kind of wick down at this point. So I haven't come back to there. Solana, of course, I do feel like is overextended, or was overextended a little bit to the downside. It probably still is a little bit. You can see we got in at 165. We're up about 11% on a 3x. ICP is one that, again, I have very, very strong conviction in. That one's up a decent bit as well. And then virtuals, this was kind of my gambly play. I do think we'll probably see AI agents come back. When, how much, which, all that type of stuff. Who knows? This one obviously down a decent chunk, but if we look, the net P&L over here is not terrible. Again, this is a demo trading account just to kind of, track myself and kind of practice what I preach a little bit in terms of kind of like, what I find interesting as far as trades and when things are overextended, a lot of that type of stuff. So we'll track this over the next little while, see how things do. Again, very, very low leverage. I'm not trying to get myself liquidated. I'm not trying to do anything crazy like that. Because again, we could see some further volatility to the downside. We don't know for sure that the volatility is over. So I'm trying to keep this very low leverage and pretty chill in terms of, kind of how much leverage we're playing. Because ultimately we're playing kind of the fundamentals more long-term, a lot of that type of stuff. I'm not looking to make a whole bunch of money super quick off of some of these short-term scalps, just because with that does come a little bit of some extra risk. Now again, trading aside here, let's go take a look at Bitcoin. What we can see is obviously still consolidating in this area. We are looking at the weekly chart. If we go to the daily chart, we'll see things a little bit more a little bit more obviously spread out. We're starting to see the time here that we are seeing. One thing that's very important or very interesting, I guess I should say, the Bollinger Band's really squeezing here. Again, I don't know. I say this a lot, so I don't know that I have to go into too much detail here. But usually when the Bollinger Bands squeeze, particularly for the longer they squeeze and the tighter they squeeze, it usually means a period of volatility. Now, who's to say, that this is a move to the upside? Maybe it's a move to the downside. We just know that it's volatility. We're not exactly sure in what direction. We have seen a lot of kind of consolidationary movement within this kind of like 98 to like 94 area. You can see we're kind of squeezed between these two liquidity zones. So it'll be interesting to kind of see. I do think at some point we will, the longer we sit in here, we'll see a break. Again, which direction, I'm not sure. I would assume, and kind of my bias is that it would be a move to the upside, but we don't know. We don't know for sure. We could be pulling back to this 85. We could be pulling back to 73. I mean, we could go further. It's hard to say. This could have been a double top. Maybe the bull run's over. Who knows? Again, I would strongly doubt that, but it is a possibility. And it's something that we need to remain open to. So anyway, if you are interested in trading, kind of like I've been starting to do here, I do have that link in the description below to BTCC. Again, 10% bonus on first-time deposits, which is a really good deal. It's basically guaranteed free money, which is really nice. Then also extra bonuses of up to $10,055 per user, if that is something that sounds interesting to you. And then also no VPN or KYC necessary if that's important. So like I said, if you're interested, just check the link in the description below. I've got that down there. I also should have a couple links to some other exchanges as well if you're looking for something a little bit different. So moving on, I just want to do a super quick kind of market update, seeing where we're at here. We're seeing some interesting things. Again, I've got some more news that is going to be a little bit interesting to kind of take a look at. So stay tuned. Right now, we can see with Bitcoin, open interest starting to creep back up a little bit here. The liquidation map, again, kind of leveling out a little bit. If this like overview dashboard thing does not have the 30-day, but the 30 days is kind of the one that's really telling, because there's a ton of liquidity to the upside, which could potentially indicate a move to the upside here. Again, sitting in neutral, as we've talked about before on the channel, I think this is probably low for Bitcoin and really high for anything not called Bitcoin. So I think that's kind of why we're sitting here in neutral, is because alts probably are going to be between the fear and extreme fear, and Bitcoin is probably high neutral to maybe even greed, if we're being honest, just kind of given the spot that it's kind of consolidating in. It's not bad, right? I mean, it's pretty close to all-time highs. It's holding really well. There's a ton of support. So, I think Bitcoin's looking pretty good. So then also we can see on the RSI heat map, kind of speaking to some of the weakness within the altcoin market. The overall altcoin average is here sitting in weak. Again, it's very close to neutral, but we are technically in the weak RSI zone. So things definitely showing some kind of price weakness recently. Now moving on, we're seeing this pretty consistently. I would say most days recently, we're seeing kind of consistent ETF outflows and consistent ETH ETF inflows. So money flowing out of Bitcoin and into Ethereum. This is pretty interesting. There's been kind of whispers that maybe some of these ETFs are going to allow staking to kind of give some of these institutional investors some of that like passive yield opportunity through the ETF, because a lot of times it's like, if you're looking to buy ETH, you might as well buy it kind of not through the ETF, because you can at least stake it and get some of that passive yield going on. So if that changes, I do think that's going to spark a lot more demand for the Ethereum ETF. But also, we're starting to see people stack up on Ethereum. We've talked about there's whales. More whales are buying a ridiculous amount of Ethereum. The ETF inflows have really started to pick up. Some of the Trumps have started buying a lot of Ethereum. There's a lot of people that are really kind of starting to stack up on Ethereum, which makes me wonder if we're about to see something pretty interesting go on with Ethereum. So anyway, we'll have to see kind of how that goes. Moving on, the last thing I did want to take a quick look at here is kind of the Bitcoin dominance. As we talked about a little bit earlier on in the week, the Bitcoin dominance kind of gave us a little bit of a fake out here, and then now we're seeing Bitcoin dominance to continue to rise to kind of new highs here. So does not appear like Bitcoin dominance has topped out yet. It's kind of continuing to run to the upside. We kind of have two different trend lines with different slopes here. We're currently above both of them. Kind of about the middle of March is when potentially these slopes kind of diverge a little bit, and maybe if we're going to stay kind of on this slope, the Bitcoin dominance level needs to rise a little bit quicker than what it might otherwise if we were to follow this one. So again, we're kind of back in the wait and see period, very similar to kind of what we were doing during this entire time. Is just Bitcoin dominance goes up, it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. We need to wait for a trend change. Obviously, this did break the trend line, so there was the possibility that this was a trend change. But obviously, of course, we got faked out on this one a little bit, and it's continued to rise higher. So who knows for sure, exactly what's going to happen here. Ultimately, what we are seeing is that it is continuing to rise, of course. And so until we start to see kind of a meaningful trend change, this to me, I think was probably some games being played by the market makers. Is very, very consensus and well understood that when this breaks, that's when alt season starts. And so I think they're trying to sucker people in and then kind of bring it right back. Again, of course, to inflict max pain. So those are kind of my thoughts on what we're seeing within kind of the crypto and the alt market and all that type of stuff. Pretty wild comments made by, Bitcoin being considered a meme coin. That seems maybe it was taken out of context, because obviously that was just a soundbite that was recorded. But yeah, hopefully it's taken out of context, because otherwise that seems like a fairly spicy take to have, just kind of given the market conditions and the adoption and all that type of stuff that we are seeing within crypto. So anyway, hopefully you found the information in this video useful. If you did, please do give me a like and a subscribe, because it really, really does help me out. Also, any comments, just feel free to drop those in the comment section below, because I do try to read and respond to all of those. I have, with more of the interaction that I've been getting on the channel recently, it's been getting a little bit harder for me to do them super timely, but I do try very, very hard to kind of stay up on those and make sure that I reply to everybody. It might just be a little bit longer than it was. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.